Hi everyone and welcome back to The Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jen, this is Pip, and today we are starting our next set of coffee funded videos, and that has been made possible by you the viewers, so I would just like to thank you all for being incredibly awesome and picking such an interesting thing for me to purchase with the donations. So we are going to be looking at gouache, which is a water-based paint. I have never used it to make art. I do use white gouache to highlight my graphic drawings. That's about as far as my experience goes. So what I would like to do is actually a series of 3 videos, and the first one today is going to be just exploring the medium and trying to find my feet with it. So if gouache is something that you haven't tried, maybe you'd like to come along and learn with me and we can figure it out together. There will be a further 2 videos which I'm not going to talk about just now because I'd quite like them to be a surprise, but you can expect 2 more videos in the near-ish future featuring our gouache paints. So let's go and head over to the desk, get to top down view, and we can get going. So here we go. I have the Winsor & Newton Designers Gouache, and this box, this lovely box, was the introductory set which had 10 tubes in it. I have bought a few extra ones as well just because there was spare money after buying this box. The reason that I bought these is the colour range is quite easily accessible in terms of getting a hold of it in the UK, but not only that, I use the permanent white anyway. This is the only experience I have of gouache prior to this video, and I've always had a tube of this and I use it to paint on highlights on my graphite drawings. So I kind of trust Winsor & Newton anyway. I use quite a lot of their stuff now, and I thought that their gouache would be reasonably reliable, so I thought that was worth a shout. So that was the kind of reasoning behind it. So other things that I have in my possession at the moment is just a size 12 paintbrush, because the first thing I want to do is swatch these all out. And I have got 2 types of paper here. This is some Strathmore 400 series watercolor paper. I nearly said water paper there. And I also have the Faber-Castell mixed media pad, which is this one. And I find this is really good for like a budget paper, and I really like it for the price point that it comes in at. So I thought what we could do was swatch them out on this, and then have a play with them on both the watercolour paper and the mixed media paper, just to see how they're going to behave, and for me to kind of learn and find out what they're capable of. So I'm quite excited about this. I don't normally get excited about swatching things, but I'm quite excited about swatching paint. I've also got a piece of black paper, and that is just so that I can swatch out the whites, because I do believe in this box there was a white that came in the box as well. So I don't know if it's the same white or not, but anyway, I've got my little scrap of black paper here, so maybe we'll do that first. Let's have a look in this box and see what's what, because I've just kind of like chucked them all in. Sure I had another white. Yeah, there it's there. Zinc white. Okay, so it's a different white. It is a different white. Awesome. It's as good a place to start as any, so let's just have a quick... So the permanent white is the one, as I say, I use it all the time. So I want to test it straight out the tube, so test it neat, and I also want to test it watered down slightly. So I've got an old ceramic plate here. This kind of gets used for art supplies now, so I'm just going to use that to, you know, to mix my water on and mix my paint on. So we'll try it neat and see what happens. I'll get my water over here so I'm not constantly leaning across the screen as well. That could be fun. Okay, so I'm just dampening my brush here. I'm not doing anything special with it. I don't even know how to swatch this. It's so thick. Okay, try and do a big squishy sweep like that. Okay. So you can see that it is, you know, it's quite opaque. And I'm just adding a wee bit, maybe I should do that in camera shot, that might be a better idea. I'm just adding a wee bit of water, and I'm going to give that a wee squish around there just to thin it out a little bit, and then pop that down. I suppose we'll have to wait until it dries, but it definitely, on textured paper, it goes down smoother once it's got a wee bit of water in it. So that is the permanent white. I'm going to get these mixed up already. Yeah, that's the permanent white, which is the one that I use, well, I've used before now. And we also have the zinc white. Oh, this is really thick. I can barely squeeze that out the tube. It looks, even on the plate, it looks a bit yellowier. Oh wow, that's super thick. Yeah, I think it is. It's got like a yellow tint to it. Man, it's like wallpaper paste. Okay, so let's add a little bit of water to it and see what happens. See if I can thin it down a little bit. I keep moving things about. It's really nice with water in it. It feels quite silky. I wasn't expecting it to feel quite as smooth as that. Again, I tend not to water it down. I just use it neat so that I can get a really bright highlight over the top of my pencil drawings. So there we go. I've learned something already. That's quite good. That is quite good. Right. I'm going to leave them to dry. I'm going to pop them out the road. And what I've just done, oh, it was kind of like poking out. Oh no, I don't really know what to do with that. Not a lot. There we go. I'll just put the cap back on it just now. Okay, so what I've just done with the white is basically what I'm going to do with the rest of the colours. So I will speed this section up because you're not going to want to listen to me talk about every single colour that I'm going to swatch out. But if I find anything of particular interest, obviously I will mention it. So let's dig into this box and see what we have got. Okay, the first thing I'm noticing is that both the greens, the sap green and the olive green that I've just put out, they seem to have separated, and I don't know whether that's because they've maybe been sitting somewhere or whether they all do that. If anybody knows the answer to that, please let me know in the comments. But they are like runnier than the other paints, and that's I don't know whether to be concerned about that or not, but especially the sap green was really watery, and like, it's almost as if I didn't really need to add any water to it really, other than to lighten it up a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, I just thought I would point that out. Okay, so my first sort of impressions and observations are, I love the way that the paint goes down with a little bit of water on it. It's really silky and you've still got like a really like opaque colour, and that is such a nice thing. If you were to do the same thing with watercolour, you would not be able to get the vibrancy of these colours. I mean, look, they're amazing. Some of them are actually still drying. The other observation that I've made, that if you put the paint down neat and you put it down thick, you do get texture with it. I'm really hoping you're going to be able to see this on the camera, but if you look at the ultramarine, this is the neat one here, and you can actually see my brush strokes. There we go, if I get it in the light. You can see my brush streaks in it. So that's really nice as well. I'm really impressed with the colours that we've got here. I think I could have done with maybe like a raw umber or something. But apart from that, I've got a pretty well-rounded set of colours. I know I can mix things, but it's always nice to have that one, you know, solid colour you can rely on. And I'm loving how pretty my paint palette's looking as well. I'm like, ooh, colours. But if you take a look at the whites here as well, so this was the permanent white, which is the one I use for highlights, and this is the zinc white, so it is yet more yellow in tone than the permanent white, so there is a difference. I'll let you know, a visible, obviously there's a difference, but there is a very obvious visible difference between them. When I was doing this, the thing that's kind of popped into my head is how far can you push the gouache in terms of diluting it with water. So what I want to do is, while I'm still on this mixed media paper, I want to try and use a dark colour and a light colour. So I'll maybe take the ultramarine and say the permanent yellow or something like that, and I just want to see them in different dilutions to see how much it changes how they behave on the paper. I've got a slightly smaller brush for this, and it's a flat brush. It's let me see, what is it? It's a 10mm or 3/8 of an inch if you are an imperial kind of person. And then I'm just going to add some more water to it, 3 wee splodges, and give it a mix round and see what happens. Wow, there you go. That's what happens. That's insane. Look how opaque look how transparent that goes. That is amazing. That, I mean, that is behaving like watercolour as far as I'm concerned. I wonder what happens if we put more water in it. Does it just literally like go to nothing? Even the way it behaves in the palette is very, very like watercolour now. That is insane. This is going to be really, really interesting. Even, you know, like literally you could just use the black and you could do like a grayscale painting, you know, like a really moody, like a stormy wood or something. You know what I'm like about forests and things. I am really impressed with this. I think I'm going to like gouache as a medium. I think I am very much. We've got this, we've got the Naples yellow, that's quite pale. So I'm just trying to catch this before it dries. But that was kind of where we were with a little bit of water in it. So I wonder what's going to happen if I just add a little bit more. It's really weird working with really opaque paint like this. Oh, that's nice. See, this would be quite a good base for a skin tone as well. Oh, I've just put a dirty fingerprint on that. You didn't see that. There was nothing to see. Yeah, this could be a really good base for like a pale skin tone. It's getting paler and paler. The thing about this, and I think obviously it must be to do with the opacity, you do have to wait until it dries to see what colour it's, you know, what true colour it's going to come out. Okay, I can't add much water to this without actually flooding my flooding my palette. I'm gonna have to move it over. That was why I'd moved the black over, because these little rectangular ones are like they slope. They don't actually hold as much water or paint as you think they might do. I'm really glad you guys picked these. This is great fun. There we go. I'm going to let that dry for a while, but look at the range that you can get. And all you're doing is adding a couple of drops of water each time. This is going to be nuts. So there we go. Even, it doesn't matter whether it's with a dark or a light colour, you can get a really good range just by varying the amount of water that you use. I keep looking back up here. There's some of these that are still wet, but I am absolutely in love with the sap green and the Windsor green. They're my favourites. The Windsor green, if you get a bit closer, it's more like an emeraldy green, and I would possibly call it closer to like a viridian hue. My wee cogs on my brain are starting to go. So that is on mixed media paper. Now I'm curious to find out how they're going to behave on watercolour paper. Now this is cold press watercolour paper, and I have picked it deliberately because it is really textured. So I just want to kind of like wang things down on this and see what happens. There's that technical phrase again, wang it down. Okay, so I've got a really thick blob of red here that hasn't, or whatever colour this is. Yeah, I think it's red. One of the reds. Primary red. And I just want to see what that's like on textured paper like this, because this is a lot more textured than the mixed media paper. And that seems to be absolutely fine. I mean, it's not like it's going to start turning cartwheels or anything, but you know what I mean. I wondered if because the paint was really thick that it would kind of like just stick against all the textured areas of the paper, but it's not. I can't get over how opaque this is. This is ridiculous. And that's it with quite a lot of water in it as well. It looks a lot more red on the camera than it is. It's actually got quite a pinky tint to it. Obviously being primary red, they're thinking about somewhere between red and magenta, which is always a debate that I'm open to. But yeah, they seem to want to behave on things. I mean, it's, you know, if I was to draw like a really thin line, is it going to get interrupted by the bumps in the paper? And the answer to that is no. Okay, what about really watery paint? Again, we'll go back to this Naples yellow, because this is pretty watery now. I'm assuming it's going to behave like watercolour paint. I'll leave that to sit on there and see what it wants to do. The other thing I want to do is see what happens if I try and work wet and wet. So I'm just going to scoop up some more of this and plonk it on top of here before it dries. And I just want to see what it does. And yeah, it's doing what I hoped it was going to do, and that is that it has mixed in beautifully together. And granted, one is very undiluted and one is extremely diluted, so I probably picked the wrong colour for that reason. but the colours are mixing on the paper okay. So that's, you know, you can mix wet and wet when you're actually painting, and that's good to know, because you know, y'all know I like a good gradient. So that I'm quite comfortable that that's gonna be okay if I want to try something like that. I'm not going to be clutching at straws to try and get it done. Right, okay, I think I'm going to grab a round brush now, and I'm just going to have a little doodle and see if I can come up with some ideas. Right, so that's me. I've got something a bit more sensible. I have got a number 6 round. When it comes to painting, if you've seen any of my painting videos, you'll know that my paintings are usually quite simple, and I tend to favour sort of green foresty type landscapey efforts most of the time, not all of the time. I'm just loving the way this is going down on the paper, even with this little brush. This is just, oh wow, this is great. I kind of wish I'd found this sooner. So I suppose what I'm trying to get at is I need to decide what I'm going to paint. Now the temptation, and it kind of puts me in mind of Posca pens a wee bit, because the colours are like really vibrant and really flat. It makes me want to paint something sort of really fun, and I was going to say juvenile, not juvenile, but I'm trying to think of a better way to describe it. Just something fun and not too serious, I suppose, or not too realistic. And I'm going to have to give that some thought, because that's not really the type of thing that I would normally paint, but I do want to paint it. I'm just adding in different strengths here. See, this is behaving exactly like watercolour. This wet and wet, and I'm putting a more concentrated solution of the gouache into the watered down one, and because it's wet already, then it's going to do the same thing as a watercolour wash would do, which is really nice. Let's have a pink tree just while we're here. Why not? So yeah, the temptation is to use really bright colours, but I think that we could, I think you can, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't paint realistically with gouache, of course you can, it depends on your colour choices and your style. But I think we can achieve something pretty reasonable with this. But say the sort of trees, I mean, trees are like my comfort zone. They are my like default, okay, we're trying something new, do what we know until we figure out how it works. So that's my temptation is always to draw trees or paint trees, and I'm going to do it with this green because I've been dying to do that since I swatched it out. So what I would like from you lovely viewers is if you could drop me a comment with a suggestion of something that you would like to see painted. I would be more than happy to take a look at your requests and maybe incorporate or use some of your suggestions to paint something. I think I'll probably end up doing like a foresty type painting anyway, because that's what I do. But I would be quite happy to paint something a little bit more exciting, maybe. Look at my tree, look at my tree! Look at my freaking tree! So, but the control that you have over this is like, oh yeah, so good. And you still get that nice watery painterly feel as well, if that's what you want to do, which I quite like. And it's so easy to use. It really is. This is way easier than watercolor, like way easier. I don't know, maybe I could just be saying that though, because I'm used to using watercolor now. I'm trying to like think back and put myself in the position that I was in that very first like tutorial that I filmed, that I followed, and that was really frustrating. But I think the gouache is, I think this is much easier. I just realised that this looks like the sun, that it belongs to this picture. That was convenient, wasn't it? Yeah, so, okay, so I'm quite happy that it's performing well, and you can see now on this side my gradient's kind of drying a little bit. If you ignore the fact that I had put down this neat colour before, but where I actually started to blend it together, that's a really nice gradient, that's really soft. This has made me a little bit happier for part 2 of this coffee funded situation, because obviously I'm going to be nervous, it's a new medium, but this is, I really enjoyed just messing about with these. Now, to be honest, like I hate swatching things, and I could sit and swatch these for like another hour quite happily. The colours are lovely. I want to try a little bit of paint mixing as well. One of the things that really caught my eye on this box is this lovely sort of cobalt greeny blue colour, and I tried so hard to get hold of that colour and I couldn't get it. But I think from what I've seen that gouache mixes quite well, so I want to do a bit of paint mixing and just see what we come up with. Normally, because I use watercolours, we don't really use white an awful lot, so I really want to try mixing some white with some of the other colours as well, basically just to see what happens. So I'm going to give that a little bash. Ooh, see, that's really close. This, what colour did we decide this was? This is the Windsor green. So I think that maybe just a little bit of white and a squidge of blue might just be enough to make this. I really like that colour of green, like I really like it. There is quite a difference between the wet colour and the dry colour, and I think that that's something that I'm going to have to try and remember when it actually comes to painting a picture, because what's going down isn't necessarily how it's going to end up, and that could result in some pretty funky choices and pretty funky results. Yeah, this is like the primary blue. So let's see what we can do here. This is kind of dried. Now it does dry quite quickly, this paint. So that's something that could be a blessing or a curse, couldn't it? I suppose the more it's watered down, or the more water that you add, then I suppose maybe you could keep adding water to it. And right, I'm definitely going to need more blue than that. I'm so used to just having pan watercolours, and see, having all these tubes kicking about, it's kind of like a bit chaotic, and I like everything very orderly and, you know, nice and neat and tidy. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't used tube watercolours up to this point, because I do actually get a little bit stressed out by it. And it's just, that sounds really, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I really struggle with not having control over things and things not being orderly. Like it stresses me out. So this is kind of, I'm glad I've got this little box to keep all these tubes in, so that at least I know that they're all in one place, kind of thing. But that's something that I really struggle with, and I struggle with it in my day-to-day life, you know, in my home life, my work life. It's like a control thing, and if I don't have control, I get really anxious and get really stressed out. And it's something that I have learned to deal with now that I'm not even like a young adult anymore. God, that's depressing. But as I've got older, I'm much better with it. But situations like this, it kind of freaks me out a little bit, because this is a situation where everything should be in order and I should have control. Right, let's wang some white in this. Anyway, that's enough about my mental health. You don't want to hear about that. Ooh, that's pretty. It looks really blue on the camera and it's not. Oh man. It is like a turquoisey colour. I'm going to put a little bit more green on it because I want it to look on the camera the way it actually looks right now. Oh yeah, look at that bad boy. Okay, I like the fact that you can mix white in, that's quite interesting. Ooh, I don't think there's enough blue in it. That is a pretty colour. Let's scoop up some more primary blue. I nearly put that on the painting there. I think I might use the white sparingly, because it does have that sort of milky consistency to it, and I don't really like that in my paint. I'm going to move this out of the way because it's kind of blocking the light a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, still looks really blue on the camera. It's not. Right next to this one. Yeah, okay, so you can see the difference there between the two. But these are just, oh, these are so nice. Okay, so we can mix colours really easily in terms of on the colour palette, but we can also mix them if they're wet enough. And I'm just going to try this out with one of these greens. I'm going to take this sap green and I'm going to plonk a little bit more water in it. I just have to stop to show you something because this is hilarious. You guys are going to love this. Jock's asleep on the sofa bed and look at him. He's actually sound asleep, bless him. He looks funny sat like that. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just going to pop a little bit more water because my sap green, I'm just out of shot there. This one up here, it's kind of dried out now. But let's just see what happens when we mix some other stuff in with it. So just by taking a little bit of that green and mixing it in with the yellow that was already there. I feel like there's a lot of scope for mixing colours in this, and I think that could be quite good fun in itself, you know, just an exercise in doing that. It's not something, I mean, I do mix colour and watercolour, obviously I do that, but I don't know, there just seems to be like a more of a fun element with this. I think it's just because the colours are so vibrant and bright. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to get to the colour of green that is my absolute favourite, which is somewhere between this green and that green, but with a bit more yellow in it. I have a particular shade of paint that I have wanted to paint the cave for quite some time, and that is always in my head when I do stuff with greens. I'm like, yeah, that's nearly it. That is nearly it, and it is this lovely sort of, it's actually a wee bit paler than this, I think. That looks absolutely revolting. Like this camera situation is really not doing these colours any favour. That looks like something my cat used to puke up. Oh man, I'm sorry guys, that was disgusting. That was disgusting, my bad. Yeah, that's kind of more like it. So let's see what it looks like on the paper. Yeah, yeah, okay, maybe not quite as yellow as that, but that's more like it, less yellow, more green. That's the colour I would love to paint the cave. But I'm not prepared to put in the legwork to do it because I'd have to move like a gajillion bookcases, and I'm not down for that at all. I'd kind of like to do a bit more with this Naples colour as well, and just see if we can get like a range of skin tones with it. So let's start with a little bit of that Naples yellow. Make sure I've got the right one here. So again, I don't know if this is like the proper way to do things, but if I'm going to mix colours, I think I would want a teeny weeny wee bit of water in there, and it's like just to make the paint a bit more mobile, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's just so it's easier to squish around, because some of the consistencies do vary, as I said earlier, and some of them are quite globby and some of them are a little bit runnier, and I don't know whether it's the actual makeup of the paint or whether it's because they've been sitting, you know, the conditions they've been kept in, or... So the first thing I want to do, I mean, this is quite a warm colour already, but I think I might want to add like just a tiny bit of red into it. That's one thing, I think, because I'm still really new at painting as well, like stuff like mixing paint, it's not something that I find comes naturally to me. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got a little bit of pinkiness in there now. That's a start. Just making sure it's mixed good and proper. Okay, what happens if we pop a tiny bit of blue in there? Interesting. I really am just experimenting here. I'm going to stick some grey in. Imagine that would make it really sort of porcelainy. Porcelainy. Do you guys know what I mean? That looks kind of similar. Okay, that's way too yellowy. It's interesting though, just by adding a teeny tiny bit of this or that, it's amazing what you can come up with in terms of skin tones. It's getting kind of watery now though, that's the only thing. This is just a really good exercise in even learning what quantities to use, or, you know, this kind of thing. Okay, I've gone to that kind of like sicky brown colour again. I really don't feel as if I'm mixing this well. There we go, we're getting into nicer colours now, so that's quite a warm brown. But the really nice thing about that is if you like that particular tone, then all you'd need to do, you know, if you just wanted like a slightly lighter version of it, you could go back to the what I was saying earlier about using white, which is a luxury that you really don't have with watercolour, or it just doesn't work the same way. So I suppose in a way this gouache is a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to say easier to work with, but yeah, kinda. I'm just enjoying making a mess on these palettes and seeing all the colours side by side. It's kind of cool. But let's see what happens if we do this. Oh yeah, there you go. So easy to mix skin tones as well. This is great. And then we can get darker again without too much hassle. And all I did there was add in a teeny weeny bit of black into that. And we could go, this is kind of heading like English rose. So if we add, you know, really, really pale skin, if we add a lot of white to this sort of tone that we've just used, let's see what happens there. I have friends this colour. This reminds me of, you know, someone like maybe somebody with red hair and really pale skin and like maybe freckles, you know, that kind of colouring. Let's see how light we can go before it looks ridiculous. Is that's not much lighter, that kind of looks the same. Ah, there's a little bit of a difference. Again, I've got to wait for it to dry. See this? It does dry quickly though, I will say that. So that's a really good thing for me because I have zero patience for stuff like that. But I was thinking about this earlier and I think that gouache might be my bag. It might be something that I actually, oh yeah, we're still getting lighter. It might be something that I would use on a bit more of a regular basis if I can get over this whole having tubes everywhere. And I suppose it's like any other art supply though, eventually once you've explored it and kind of figured it out a little bit, you do get to a point where you have like go-to colours, and I'll know the colours a bit better that's in the tubes. And I won't, you know, it won't be as chaotic as it is just now. I mean, you will rarely, filming or not, you will rarely see the desk in the cave in this sort of state. I'm usually very orderly and organised, and kind of looks like a strawberry milkshake now. I still want to put more white in it though, just to see how, you know, how light we can go before it doesn't look like a possible skin tone anymore. I'm gonna have to like beat the lumps out. Has anybody got a whisk? Yeah, that is really pale. Okay, I think we've kind of reached the end of... So there you go, that as a complete noob and a novice when it comes to knowing which paint colours to mix with what, I've still been able to replicate a plethora of skin tones just with literally a couple of tubes of paint. I'm happy that I've kind of explored all the avenues for this. The next test is canvas. I want to see how it fares, and I'm thinking of using it more in its neat form on canvas rather than the watery form because of obviously the surface. Please ignore the noises in the background. Jock and Pip are playing. You can hear them talking to each other. They're having fun. So here's a really watery mixture, and that's gone exactly as I expected it to. If I zoom in a little bit, hopefully. Come on, camera. Yeah, I kind of thought this might happen. So let's see what it's like in its thick form, you know, like straight from the tube. And I think because of the consistency of it, we might get on a little bit better. So let's try with this blue. And I'm just going to lift it straight from the tube. Now this is what I would do when I'm doing highlights with the white on my graphite drawings. I just literally like squeeze the tube till it's kind of like bubbling at the top there, and then just lift it straight off. And we've got that lovely texture. Now granted, that is quite a dark colour, but the consistency of it is behaving slightly more like an acrylic paint, or perhaps even an oil paint. I'm not really qualified to comment on those, but that's kind of what I'm imagining. And the beauty of it is because it dries quickly, you can build up those layers. I'm assuming that the drying time will be slightly longer on canvas than it is on paper. Now, for the way I had it sitting in the light there, I do have an artificial light on and it looks as if the white of the canvas is showing through. But if I just tilt it like that and show you, the coverage is amazing. There is not a lot of the white of the canvas showing through there. Okay, I don't know also about a gradient on something like this. There's that lovely turquoisey colour. I'm in love with that colour. I hope I can get an actual tube of, I think it's cobalt turquoise. I'm going to have a really good look. Also, for anyone that's in the UK, I noticed that just recently, and it might just be local to me, but the range have started stocking a really large amount of Winsor & Newton art supplies. And in my store, certainly, well, my nearest store, that was something that wasn't really the case before. So if you have a range near you, it's a good place to stop in, because I actually picked up a couple of a couple of tubes of gouache. This Winsor & Newton stuff in the range, and it's not too bad on price. I don't know how well this is actually going to go. It doesn't help that we're using quite a watery, yeah, maybe not. Okay, still nothing ventured, nothing gained here. I also want to see how we're going to get on with line work. So I've got a little bit of black here. Now again, line work with paintbrushes isn't really my forte. One can always try. It doesn't help that the paint is quite globby, obviously because it's in its neat form. Maybe I could put a tiny bit of water in it just to make it glide a bit better, like it did when I was doing the swatches. Okay, I'm going to try that. One drop. Let's see if I can loosen this up a tiny little bit. Oh, that's worse. It is going down on the canvas a lot smoother though, and you can see the consistency of my lines is well, a lot more consistent. Good gem. Yeah, that makes it slightly easier to work with. I think though, obviously, I mean, I could use a finer point brush. This is a 6. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Now we are talking. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. That one little drop of water makes all the difference. Alright, so this thick blue that we put down is the closest to dry I think we're going to get, truthfully. Let's just see what happens when we pop something down on top of it now. So I want to try some white, because obviously that is very, very pale in comparison. Let's try with the zinc white. So again, just straight out the tube. This is really thick though. Okay, it is picking up the blue underneath. You can see there I've just marked the corner there. So you're going to have to be quite liberal and careful, I would imagine. And maybe build that up in layers if we want to do that, but that's okay too. Hoo-hoo! Look how bright these colours are, it's absolutely outrageous. But in a good way, obviously. There we go. Okay, so building up layers like that is absolutely 100% possible. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with that too. I think if you were wanting to use the, you know, like a black outline like that, I think you would line it afterwards to stop everything sort of disappearing into each other. I think that would probably be a wise thing to do. Because I am playing with fire here, because that turquoisey colour is really wet. Yeah, that's totally taken over the black lines as well. So yeah, I would say lining second. That would apply to paper as well, I would imagine. Living on the edge here. I don't know why I decided to start doing this on something so small, but it seemed like a good idea 2 seconds ago. Oh, okay, so it's quite possible to get a variety of different textures and layers and all these sorts of things. Okay guys, so if you leave me your suggestions down below of what you would like to see me paint, which will be the next coffee video and it will be out in a week or so after we've voted and things. If you could send me your suggestions, that would be absolutely lovely. I would really appreciate that. And I hope that you have learned something today, because I certainly have, and I feel just better set up to tackle an actual picture and see if we can paint something pretty. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up. That would be really good. I'd really, really appreciate it. And we shall see you next day back in the cave for more fun with gouache. Bye for now, everyone.